Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Monday, the 6th day, is it? Yes, the 6th day of March, 2023. Well, I hope you've had a good weekend. I finished making well, I don't know, I think I'm finished. I made 9 4-ounce tins of balm of Gilead salve. I did that this weekend. That was fun. My beeswax pastilles finally got here, and I like working with those a whole lot better. They're just those little tiny beads, and they seem to dissolve better, and I don't know, they're just easier to measure out, and so I like working with those a lot, and as opposed to, beeswax that comes in a like a patty or whatever. It's just I don't like having to shave it off. To me, I just don't get as accurate a measurement. So anyway, I always order those, and I ordered 2 big bags of them, so I'll have plenty if I decide to make more. Um, but anyway, that's done at least for now. I've finished taking all the buds off that other big tree we had up there. It was bigger than the other ones we had up there that we took. I think all in all we took down 10 technically smaller trees, because I've got a huge couple of really huge cottonwoods here in by my house. Um, so these were considerably smaller, but they had to come out, and so I took all the buds, and there's your balm of Gilead. So anyway, it works great, and I really like it, and I think the smell is great. So kind of reminds me of when we were keeping bees and the propolis and all that, because that's where they get all that resin from to make the propolis to seal their hives with, is off cottonwood trees. That's their favorite place to go. It's not that they can't get resins other places, they can, but that's what they're using it for. They're using it to seal up their hives, and it just smells so good, you know. So anyway, well, let's go ahead and get started. I think I've got everything out here. I'm going to go ahead and draw the Elder Futhark rune and from the bag. And we'll put that down as the above side of our significator for the reading. Last week, really, it was one continuous reading, so that was kind of cool. That hasn't happened in a couple of months. Here we have Hagalaz as the above side. Hagalaz is one of the 3 Norn runes in the Elder Futhark. The Norns were reportedly the women, the 3 women, the goddesses, if you will. They're called many things, but they were the ones that gave Odin the runes, reportedly, as he hung upside down from the world tree. In the lore, it says sacrificing himself to himself, which means he took out an eye, and so that's why he wore a patch, and he did that to gain enlightenment. And so that's what the runes ultimately were. They're an alphabet. But they're also a divination method. And I kind of view them as in the same way I do as I do the major arcana and tarot, which is a soul archetype set of cards. Well, I view the runes as the same thing. This is soul archetype stuff. It's not so much the minutia of life, although it can be interpreted that way, but this is the overall soul stuff that we have to remember as we move through our life and form. And Hagalaz is thought to be the witch rune. It means hail. It means transformation within a fixed framework. So it's not like it basically describes working witchcraft or spells or whatever kind of rituals where you're trying to influence something. You're not destroying everything about it. You're just trying to change the dynamic that's happening. So if there's a negative situation that's happening, you try to create a situation where it enlightens the individual or individuals in question to then consider a higher purpose here, to consider something that is a little more spiritual than the lowly ego would like us to engage in. And so that's kind of what that is. It's not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's just cleaning things up a little bit, so that things can function a little bit better. And you use it to influence that way. The other 2 other runes are Nathiz and also Isa. So Hagalaz is the rune of the past, Isa is the rune of the present, and Nathiz is the rune of the future. And they correspond with the Norns that represent each. And so again, what are we going to transform today? Let's take a look at the geomancy runes here. We're going to throw down I'll throw down the 4 elemental runes, and then we'll set them over here so I can see them. We've got a single dot for fire, one single dot for air. Oh, okay. Oh, I was thinking that was that. All right. So we've got a single dot for fire, air, water, and dual dot for earth. And so we're looking at Cauda Draconis. We've got both Caput and Cauda. Caput represents the north node of the moon, and or the head of the dragon. And then, let's see. Oh, there we are. And then Cauda represents the tail of the dragon, or the south node of the moon. Now, the north node is going to represent the future, whereas the south node of the moon is going to represent past. And that can also mean past life. And so if you want to, I mean, there's only the now, but that's another video for another day. But basically what we have is the effect of karma, or the effect of things that we have not yet completed, lessons we've not yet learned, that are going to come in again and have us try it all over again and see if we can't come out on the other side of it in a better mindset, in a higher level mindset, spiritual mindset. And so there's something then about past behavior that we have to transform today, or over the next few days, so that we can get ourselves into a better place. So we can be more effective. We can, whatever, just we can see the world maybe in a little bit better way. Maybe transform negativity. That could be one. If there's some things that you need to do about yourself that where healing needs to take place and some changes there, you can look at it in really any number of things that you might need to transform. But let's see if the cards can give us just a little bit more information on what that might be. So I've already done some shuffling. I did a little bit more here. I'm cutting the deck. And we're going to take a look at... Well, we have 2 cards from the court. Oh, joy. Excuse me. Let's see. And then we have 2 cards from Pentacles, 1 from Swords. We have the 10 of Pentacles, the Page of Swords, and the Knight of Pentacles. I think I'm going to leave them in the order they're in for now, at least. I might move them around, but I don't know. Let's just start out with the 10 of Pentacles, though. Pentacles is the earth element. It represents our physical reality, just everything having to do with that. Education, tradition, home, work, legacy. You see the tree of life here. The 10 coins or pentacles are arranged in the tree of life. So it's the progression through. And then you see the older man here and his younger children will say here, or a son and daughter-in-law, or a daughter and son-in-law. You see his dogs here. You see all the abundance, all the things that he's gained throughout his life, and the tradition that he's built, and the legacy that he's built. You see an archway right here, which suggests transition, and then you see the home or the castle, because this could be the king, on the other side. But what we're going to see here is transition. Transition from one phase of life to a new phase of life, and the archway here sort of acts as that doorway into something new happening. And so it's a transformation of his legacy to the younger people in his life, to his children, basically. He's gone through all of the stages of his life, and he's just ready to let go of that and allow them to take over and be the growing into the patriarch or matriarch or what have you, that person in the family. 10 is also, we've talked about this before, and maybe I don't have to draw it out. Let me look. I have one here. The Roman numeral 10 is an X, and here we have the rune de Gaz, which is one of the last runes of the Elder Futhark. And you see the X in the middle. If you terminate the ends, you have de Gaz. And that sort of describes how I see the number 10. When you reduce it to 1, you have new beginnings. But there's a sense of endings, which you also get with the number 9. When you reach that 10, it's that transition point. Again, that Hagalaz moment that I'm throwing around here on my desk. The Hagalaz energy here of transformation from one phase to another. And I think that's what we see here. Now, this does not necessarily mean, though, that if you look at the idea of it, it doesn't necessarily mean you're the older person in the family, you're the grandmother or the grandfather, and you're passing this legacy on to the youth. I mean, it can mean that, but it could also mean transitioning from one phase of your life into another one. Leaving it and dealing with letting go of past stuff that no longer is relevant or necessary, and could in fact be holding you back from allowing that transition to take place. So let's not get too hung up on the whole idea of transferring legacy, unless it's something where maybe you're ready to leave one job where maybe you were the person in charge and you have to leave behind enough of the information for those behind you to take over and, run the department or what have you, while you go on and you choose something else, whether it's retirement or another job, or maybe you're going to start a completely new phase in your life. It could signify a move, from one state to another, or from one country to another. This is, to me, being the 10th card of Pentacles, you're really looking at something that's profound here. So with Hagalaz, this is profound transformation. So something is happening in your life where you need to let go of the past perceptions, past experiences, past fear that keeps you from moving forward into something entirely new. Now, the Page of Swords is next. And we're looking at someone who's basically, swords is the air element. And so there's an element of risk to the air element. You see he's leaning into the future while checking out the past, which is exactly what Hagalaz and Kata Draconis really embody here. Some transformation, moving into the future, new ideas, new opportunities, new experiences, new ways of thinking and perceiving. But at the same time, and although it looks like the wind is indeed blowing him into the future, he's still mindful of what he's learned from the past, what he can take with, and what he needs to leave behind. But again, he's a risk taker. Pages are about undeveloped potential, and I've said this before. They sort of align pretty well with the Fool, which is complete undeveloped potential, taking that leap of faith into form, trusting the process. The aces of each suit, the same sort of thing, where it's the undeveloped potential, the genesis of something, right? Of that particular element embodied into form. And then the Page is the student, also undeveloped potential, the news bearer, someone who's trying to tell you about things. He's vigilant, he's intelligent, he's diplomatic. He can also be a little petty when he's a little too ego-minded. But I think that what we're seeing here is this transition from the 10, and also with the overarching energies of Hagalaz and also Kata Draconis, the Page is taking, as the student, leaning into the future and leaving behind that which is no longer relevant, but taking what he's learned and applying it to new future types of endeavors. And so you see, I really think that there's the transition point between these two cards, which I think is really relevant here. Let me take a little bit of tea here if I can. Oh, it's just steaming. I don't know that I can. Well, not so much. But anyway, then you go on to the Knight of Pentacles. Now, the Knight of Pentacles is an interesting card. I love the horse in this one. The knight is sitting up on top of a hill. And it's almost like he's looking down onto the area that he's governing or he's protecting. Knights are very, very protective. He is Pentacles is the earth element, so he's trustworthy, he's reliable, he's wise, he's dependable, he's practical, he's realistic. Maybe a little more so than, say, the Knight of if this was the Knight of Swords might be. He's a little more grounded into what he needs to do, very steadfast. And so he's very concerned about the material security of whatever it is he's guarding, whatever it is he's doing here. So and to me, I always interpret this as he's protecting a town, he's protecting a village. He could be protecting his own home, but generally knights are out moving around. Either they're the Knights Templar and they've got their whole mission that they're doing, or they're just another type of a knight that's maybe protecting an area that belongs to the king. But if we look at this in terms of our own movement into something new, whatever decision we make here with the Page of Swords, whatever new experiences we want to explore, new ideas we want to explore, new perceptions, we need to do it in a way that is grounded in our basic reality. What are the needs that we have? If you're talking about the needs of the family, you say you're married, you have kids, whatever, and you have responsibilities. Even if you don't have a partner and you don't have any children, you still have responsibilities. Maybe you've purchased a home, maybe you're just getting started out, and the kinds of decisions that you make, you want to take the wisdom of your elders in with you, so that maybe you learn from their past experience. That could be another way of looking at Kata Draconis. And so the wisdom that you gain from visiting the elders here in the Ten of Pentacles can then propel you on to the new decisions you need to make in the future. And you're going to do it, though, with an eye toward preserving or enhancing your material security. And your own tradition that you're now beginning, if you do have a family, or you're going to begin to have a family. You're thinking about the future. How can I make sure that if you're married, both partners likely have to work, and you're doing that so that you have a home, so you can pay the bills, so you can have children if that's what you choose to do. But what kind of legacy are you building? If it's a new business you want to start, it's the same kind of unfolding process where decisions have to be made, risks have to be taken, but you do it with an eye to the past. You can see this. Well, I'll do it this way so you can see him look toward the past. And to whatever wisdom that this guy here, your father or your grandfather, or just a wise mentor, a person that you know in your life who's got a lot of life experience, that you're not so focused on the future that you can't accept advice from people who actually know a thing or two, right? And you want that advice. Whether you take it or you don't, you want to have that as this just pot of information that you can pull from in whatever comes up, but especially if you have a relationship with older people in your family who've had a lot of life experience, who've owned businesses, or who have had just a whole lot of different, maybe they've been farmers or ranchers or whatever. That's going to be one type of experience. Or somebody in the corporate world, that's going to be another type of experience. Maybe it's you've got somebody who's an attorney in your family, and you're going to talk to that person and say, look, this is what I'm kind of wanting to do. What insights can you give me? And so even if you just look at it, there's a good word for it. Even if you just want to look at what the legacy here is as the insights gained over time, then you're ready to embrace the future in a way that you're not feeling like, you're just standing out there all by yourself with nothing to draw from. Because you don't have the same level of experience that someone else might have. And so I think that that's really, when we're there trying to transform our future, we either let go of things from the past that no longer are relevant, or we embrace some of the insights from the past that could be relevant going forward. And we do it in a way that grounds us in some measure of reality of what our circumstances are. You know, it may be that the risk you want to take doesn't really serve your family well at this point. Your new family, your growing family. Maybe this isn't the right time for that, but maybe some other decision, you know, that can put you in a better place, kind of like a stepping stone to something else where you still have, you know, the big thing on the back burner, but you know you need a little bit more training, or you need a little bit more education, or a little more life experience before you can really embark on something like that. And so again, transformation within a fixed framework where you're not starting over completely new, but at the same time, you are embracing something new. So you're in kind of that Degas moment right here in the center point. You're right here in the center where one period is ending and you're ready to move on into something new, but you're in that transition point, that Hagalaz moment, where you really have to consider what's going to be the outcome here? What outcome do I want? What am I ready to actually do? And again, having insight from someone with more experience can help you through that transition. But it doesn't mean you don't lean into the future, right? With an eye to what you need now. So anyway, I guess that's it. I don't think we need another card. I think we pretty well did it. We'll see if Thursday's reading adds to this or if we turn a corner. But again, I think that it's that I can remember when I got out of college, when I graduated from college. A year later, I was married, but I worked for a year, and there was the excitement of putting into play what I had learned getting my degree. And there was the excitement of, I mean, I was just living in an apartment and, or no, was I in a house at that point? I can't remember if I was still in an apartment. At some point I moved into a house with some roommates, which didn't really work out. And, I was kind of stuck with the house, you know, and the guy that would ultimately be my husband, we got married shortly after. He moved in and then we got married like a month later. And so it was our house for a couple of years until we moved here with our first child. And he had been born 5 months earlier, and we bought this place here. And we've been here since 1981. But it's this excitement you feel when you feel like you've done your due diligence and you've gotten yourself prepared. And I don't know, I mean, are we ever really prepared? I'm not even sure about that. I think you're always in that evolving sense of preparing for something else, but you feel that, you know, when you've finished one thing and you're moving into something else and it's exciting. You know, you have to be careful that you don't think you know it all, because oftentimes that's what happens. Like, no, I don't need to listen to anyone. I know already. I've got all this experience. But you know, no. I went into college when I was 16 and I graduated when I was 20. And so, no, I did not have the life experience I needed. And then a year later at 21, I was married. So over our lifetime together, we've gained that experience that we can now share with our boys, you know, who, you know, one will be 43 this year, one will be 41 this year. And so they have their own lives and they're building their own life experience. And so we don't really suggest much, but you know, but if there's something that, you know, we know and they're having an issue with something, then, you know, it's something we can share. Well, this is how we dealt with something like that. And, you know, you might think about it that way, and, or it might give them, it might act as a catalyst for the actual solution that needs to happen. It might get them thinking about something that may lead them to something that actually is going to work for them. So whether they take your specific advice or they use it to generate something new, it doesn't matter. You're giving that information out of love and support and the desire for them to succeed in life. And So even though, our kids are older now, obviously, it's just something where that's a transitional process that takes place for everyone, in one form or another, right? But with the Page of Swords, this does signify somebody that's youthful. And so there are mistakes that we all make that are youthful in nature. And so what I like about it is this particular card is that even though he's leaning into the future, he's paying attention to what he's learned in the past, what can help him moving forward. And even if it's, legacy from grandpa or dad or what have you, or mom or grandma, he values that. So having that higher awareness, because that's what that is. Ego's not governing that. That's higher awareness that's governing that. And the idea that you're not so willing to just go it alone, you want some advice, you want perspective. Well, you've done something like this. How'd that go for you? Especially if you're starting out with a new business, you've got people in your family or people that have done that. What were the pitfalls? What did you learn? What kinds of things should I look out for? What kinds of professional advice should I be going to get? What kinds of things do I need to look out for? That's the kind of energy I think that's here. And so it's transforming your life with Hagalaz, but with an eye to experience. We'll just call it that. Past experience that can kind of guide you in the right direction. So I think that's it for a Monday. Thanks for watching. And, maybe Thursday's reading might give us a little more information, or we might turn the page onto something else entirely. So come back again on Thursday for another edition of As Above, So Below. If you haven't clicked subscribe yet, I'd love you to do that. Check out my blog, Stepping Aside, at imsteppingaside.com. I also write over on Medium and Substack and on and also on Patreon. If you want to check out that, there's some links to all that below the video if you click on Show More. The website address appears right away, and then a description of what I do here. And then underneath that, you'll see the other addresses and whatnot you can find me at. And also social media, where you can find me on social media. And all of the weekly stuff came out last night in the midnight hour actually I forgot to do this week, so I did that yesterday in the morning. I forgot to schedule it. But anyway, this week ahead is up. The Exploring Tarot card is up. That, I believe, is the Three of Swords. Always a fun card, isn't it? It's all that betrayal and everything. And then also the correspondences for work and magic are up for the week. And those mostly have to do with astrology and those kinds of correspondences, but not all of it. Some of it's the more general correspondences like crystals and resins and elements and all of that. So it's always helpful to shore up whatever you're doing to get all the energies, aligned together and all of that. It just gives the influencing maybe a little more power. So anyway, just sort of get like when the puzzle pieces all fall into place, then you can see the actual picture. That's the sort of thing you use correspondences for in a lot of ways. So anyhow, that's all up if you want to check that out over on the blog. And we'll get together on Thursday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.